Hi, this is Anu,
And hi, this is Oz.
and welcome to Ozz Anu, where we explore the latest trends, technologies, and ideas shaping the future of the public sector. And today, we are diving into a topic that is not only critical for the future of the public sector, but it's highly transformative: legacy modernization, and how Gen AI is playing a key role in modernizing outdated systems. Whether you're a business leader, a tech enthusiast, or just curious about the future of technology, this particular episode is for you.
Let's start by breaking it down. What exactly is legacy modernization? Well, in simple terms, it's the process of updating, enhancing, and replacing outdated software that companies have been using for years, and we're guilty of some of those. These legacy systems, while critical in their time and even currently for operations, often become inefficient. They just haven't kept in touch with time, or sometimes they're just black boxes. And what's eventually happened is they've become incompatible with future technologies such as cloud, etc.
Yeah, exactly, Oz. I mean, imagine running a business on a software that was built 20, 30 years ago, when internet wasn't a thing, when mobile apps weren't a thing, where cloud computing was a distant dream. And that's the reality of the many public sector organizations today.
Yeah.
They're dependent on these systems because they hold massive amounts of legacy data and critical data. But at the same time, they're stuck with technology that struggles with any kind of integration with any kind of modern tools. So the challenge here is obvious. Legacy systems can bottleneck innovation, making it harder for public sector clients to adapt to new opportunities, such as shift to the cloud or the use of the advanced data analytics. They also pose security risks since older systems are more vulnerable to cyber attacks.
Yeah, now this is where I think AI, or I'd say Gen AI, steps in, right? So Gen AI, as we may know it, is a form of artificial intelligence that can create new content, not just gain stuff from what's already been done. So with images, with code, for testing, everything. How does this tie into legacy modernization? Since a lot of this stuff is automated and generated, I think this is the perfect segue for us to introduce our guest for today. Ted Tritchew, who's the CTO of IBM Consulting. And with that, I'm just going to let Ted in, who's been waiting patiently. Welcome, Ted, and thank you for joining us, and thank you for waiting.
Oh, thanks. Thanks, Oz, and thanks, Anu. Nice to see you. And I think you were asking how Gen AI can help with legacy modernization.
Exactly,
And so,
exactly, Ted.
yeah. And so one of the things that the IBM Institute for Business Value found was that our clients are really excited about Gen AI and how it can help them with modernization. And to some extent, it's a real game changer. So let me give you a few examples. So we've worked with some public sector clients, and one of their biggest mistakes or biggest inhibitors in modernization is they just don't know how the existing applications work. And they've had multiple failed modernizations, and the root cause was, well, we don't even know what the business rules are, so how can I modernize? And so I would say one of our biggest use cases, and where we've been getting a lot of traction and a lot of benefit from Gen AI, is just documenting the business rules in the existing applications. If you think about how developers and how business analysts, how do they spend their time? They spend 60 or 70% of their time trying to figure out what their code is doing. And so if we can modernize and leverage Gen AI from the perspective of actually providing the insights and the ability to ask questions about the code, then a lot of time will be saved, and there'll be a big ROI just by simply documenting the application. And then, once we've documented in business terms, we can use Gen AI to generate requirements from the existing code. So we've actually generated user stories, and the user stories are very detailed. And what we've been doing is using autonomous agents for doing this. And autonomous agents, analysts and industry watchers are saying autonomous agents are going to be the next big trend in Gen AI. And the reason is that autonomous agents allow us to pretty well reduce hallucinations. So rather than a human checking the work of Gen AI, as if I'm in a chat type session, we put a team of agents together, and one agent in my code documentation example, I would have my demystifier agent, and the demystifier agent would document my code in business terms. And then my reviewer agent would review the output from the demystifier and provide comments back to the demystifier, and they might go back and forth, 5, 6, 7, 8 times until the reviewer is happy. And then we always put in an optimizer agent just to make sure that it checks the work. And what we've been finding is at scale, we can go from 60% correct documentation to 95% correct.
Wow, okay.
And we can also do this at scale. And the reason is you're doing it at scale is if you think about how, a chat GPT like session or an assistant works, is a human asks a question, the AI will provide a response, the human checks the answer, and then tells the AI, this is right, this is wrong, and so on. That requires, number one, a lot of prompt engineering skills.
Yeah.
So you get inconsistent results for various people, but it also requires domain knowledge. It means I need to know about the code before I can ask the right question. The autonomous agents reduces the need for the prompting skills, and it also reduces the need for domain knowledge. I can actually create, let's say I'm doing healthcare claims, I can create a Canadian healthcare claims domain expert agent that will check my results. Like, it's really, the art of the possible is really, it's really up to the imagination of our consulting teams to determine, well, what are all the agents I need to actually solve this problem?
Yeah.
And then from a modernization perspective, now I've got requirements in the form of user stories. I can take those requirements that came from COBOL, let's say, and I can feed them into my coding agents and ask them to create Java code for me.
Wow.
And they'll create very nice Java code. And then I can feed the Java code into my unit test agents, and they'll create really nice unit tests, and so on. So I can pretty well do the entire SDLC leveraging Gen AI agents and other tools. The agents actually have the ability that they can call real tools. So if I need an agent to read a COBOL file off disk, I give it the skill or a function that allows it to read COBOL files from disk. If I need the agent to then store the information that it extracted for me, the documentation, I just give it the skill to write to a database or write to disk. And it's really, that's kind of the power of the agents, the ability to use Gen AI, but also have deterministic function calling written in Python, usually.
Awesome. So, I mean, what you're saying, Ted, is that legacy modernization is imperative for our public sector client, but a lot of time our clients are just not willing to take it on just because of the investment that they need to put in from time and from team perspective and skill perspective. And what I'm hearing is that given the importance of legacy modernization, what IBM is able to bring to the table is this concept of agents, which is Gen AI based agents that really from an entire end-to-end SDLC process is able to build a level of velocity and quality in our delivery and really augment the capacity of our teams to really quickly drive towards legacy modernization goals for our client with the quality that we want to deliver. And that's like truly, I think, important to note here because budget is always so tight for public sector clients. Every dollar counts. And so if you can bring in those kind of assets and accelerator based on Gen AI to help augment the capacity, the capability to deliver quality product for our public sector agents for their legacy modernization initiatives, that is super cool. Super, super cool, honestly.
Yeah. And let me give you some examples of real customer situations. So we had one modernization, and the estimate that the client had was a 4-year effort. And, leveraging our tooling and Gen AI agents, we brought that back down to 1 year. So you can imagine the savings that
75% reduction.
75%. But then we ran into a different problem, which some people say is a good problem. So when we were doing the documentation, the demystification, we had put in the schedule. I'm going to start in May and finish in August. And we started in May and finished in June. And the client then said, "You're going way too fast. Like, we can't review all the stuff you're generating. We can't keep up with you." That's a good
problem to have, yeah.
So it's a good problem to have, but that's kind of the power of the agents. Like, now I have the problem of I need to take into account that we're going to, rather than taking weeks and weeks to output things, it's going to take a day. Yeah. And so I need to then, I need to pace the output in such a way that, we're working together with our public sector clients and that they can handle that pace.
That's so the modernization can happen really fast. It's just that the organizations or transformation or change management can keep up. So yeah, that is okay. So we quickly introduced you. One of the things that Ted, I kind of forgot to mention is we keep this short and quick, and we have so many questions for you. So I'm going to move along, but absolutely, there's I can absolutely see that there's millions of dollars of savings right away. And not to mention the elapsed time that from years to months. So this is amazing. Let's move to the next segment because we have a few questions for you.
Right. So Ted, I think the key piece here is if I think about my public sector clients, especially the CIO sitting in Ontario public sector, what is your advice from a legacy modernization perspective when they're making decisions about it? Do you have any specific advice for them that you want us to take forward with them?
I think, my advice is it has to be methodical. So, the first thing you need to do is actually assess what you have. So remembering that the number one issue that our clients have is skills. And so I'm going to tell you the approach, and it's going to address different issues. So the first is, okay, I need to do an assessment and discovery of what my existing application does. And so that would be tools and Gen AI approach, but the output that you want from that is actually something that my existing teams can then use to, further their knowledge of the system. And then, the second thing you want to do is now you want to map the information you found during discovery. You want to map that to business context. So if I'm doing health claims, for example, my business context is the different types of domains: eligibility, claims adjudication, payments, and reporting. So what I want to do then is take all the info that I got out of discovery and determine the business context, the flow through the actual application, and you want to build a modernization roadmap. And then based on that modernization roadmap, you then want to do some POCs or MVPs in terms of how am I going to modernize? And modernization, there's different techniques. So one technique is, if I haven't changed the code in 20 years, I probably don't need to modernize the code that much. It's like, just take the code, convert it to Java, and there's tools for that. If this code changes a lot and it's high maintenance, that's another problem I'm trying to solve. Then what you want to do is use different types of tooling like Gen AI to actually modernize that code. And so you might want to do two POCs, one for the code that needs to be modernized because it's going to be one technique, and another one for the code that just needs to be converted.
Okay.
And
sorry, go ahead.
And that's pretty well it. Then you just, rinse and repeat, create a factory to accomplish.
Yeah, and of course we can't forget about security and compliance, given that it's public sector. So regulatory compliance is super important, and security is super important because of not just how important data is nowadays, especially citizenry data. But you know what? With quantum coming up, we gotta start getting ready. And I challenge anyone who thinks quantum is a trend or not necessarily a real thing coming up. You just need to talk to some folks like Ted to truly understand how quickly quantum is building up that capability in itself. So with that, Ted, thank you so much for sharing your insights with us. And to wrap things up, thank you, Ted, for sharing your insights with us. And to wrap things up, just want to say the legacy modernization is not necessarily a technical necessity, but is strategically imperative for our public sector clients to unlock new growth and innovation for businesses. And with the power of Gen AI, the transformation is happening faster, more efficiently, and with fewer risks than ever before. So for organizations looking to stay ahead in today's digital landscape, leveraging AI in their modernization effort isn't just an option, it is a competitive imperative. And so if you want to talk to us about doing the art of possible around where IBM Consulting has been leading legacy modernization and use of our assets and accelerators in terms of our agentics, please reach out to us.
Yes, and thank you for tuning in, and thank you, Ted. If you thought this was helpful, we will include Ted's information in the post. Always looking for your questions. Based on this conversation, I can absolutely tell we're going to do an episode coming up soon on quantum safe. That's probably the next thing we're going to do. Please subscribe, join our network, slowly growing, and we're making this better and better. And yeah, join us next time. This is Oz.
And Anu.
Thank you so much.
And Ted. Bye.
Bye.